The ship Verd Dawn moved silently through the dark side of Sector 9. It was supposed to be an easy patrol. No danger. No enemies. Nothing unusual. The alien crew relaxed, talked softly, and worked on their stations. Everything felt normal. But sometimes danger comes without warning. The first sign was small, just a vibration under the metal floor. It felt like something heavy had hit the ship from the outside. The crew froze, listening. A second vibration came, stronger than the first. Lights flickered. A cold alarm tone rang through the corridor. Captain Torvak, a tall alien with sharp eyes, looked around quickly. Shields up, all crew to battle positions. Red warning lights flashed across the corridor. The ship shook again, this time harder. Everyone grabbed onto the walls to keep balance. Everyone except the human. Reed, the only human on the ship, stood calmly in the middle of the corridor. His breathing did not change. His eyes did not show fear. He simply watched, waiting. The crew had seen humans before, but Reed was different. He never panicked. He never shouted. He never looked scared. Sometimes, the crew whispered that he was too calm, like someone born for danger. Another explosion rocked the ship. This time it felt like something had ripped a hole in the outer layer. "Captain!" a crew member shouted. "Unknown ships approaching fast. They're locking weapons on us." Captain Torvak didn't hesitate. "Activate internal defense. And you," he pointed at Reed, "stay behind me." Reed didn't move. He only tilted his head as if he hadn't heard correctly. The ship corridor lights dimmed and emergency lights turned on. Smoke drifted through the air as systems malfunctioned. The metallic echo of footsteps filled the hall. Something was boarding them. Torvak stepped forward with his plasma rifle ready. "Human, I said stay behind me." Reed finally spoke, his voice steady and strangely calm. "Captain, you won't be able to stop what's coming." The crew turned their eyes toward him. His tone wasn't arrogant. It wasn't rebellious. It sounded like simple truth. Before Torvak could reply, the corridor doors at the end were blown apart. A tall alien raider stepped inside. Its body was long and thin, its skin gray and cracked. Its eyes glowed red like burning embers. It roared. Crew members jumped back in fear. Torvak raised his rifle. But Reed stepped forward. The captain grabbed him by the arm. "Human, behind me." Reed pulled his arm free, with a strength Torvak didn't expect. His voice lowered. "Trust me." The raider charged. Torvak fired his rifle, but the creature moved too fast. It dodged the laser shots and leaped toward them. The crew screamed, but the human moved even faster. Reed stepped into the creature's path, twisted his body, and grabbed the raider by the arm. In one motion, smooth, controlled, and terrifyingly precise, he slammed the alien into the metal floor. The entire ship corridor shook with the impact. The crew went silent. The raider tried to stand, but Reed kicked it in the chest. Bones cracked. The creature stopped moving. Captain Torvak stared, stunned. "Human, what are you doing?" Reed didn't answer. He was already turning toward the broken door, where more shadows appeared. Two more raiders entered, larger, stronger, and angry. A crew member shouted, "Captain, we need to fall back." But Reed didn't fall back. He walked forward. "Human, stop." Torvak ordered again. "You are not a soldier." Reed spoke without looking at the captain. "No, I'm something else." One raider swung a heavy metal blade at Reed. The blade cut through the air with deadly force. Reed dodged by a single step, grabbed the raider's wrist, and twisted until the weapon dropped. Then he slammed his elbow into the creature's jaw, sending it flying into the wall. The crew gasped. They had never seen a human move like this. The second raider lunged. Reed caught it by the throat and smashed its head into the steel floor. Once, twice, the body stopped moving. Torvak stared at the scene in disbelief. How? How can a human fight like this? Reed finally turned. His eyes were calm, almost cold. "My world is not gentle, Captain." Torvak swallowed hard. He had studied humans. He knew they were adaptable, emotional, and clever, but he had never heard they were this. The corridor now had 3 fallen raiders on the floor, and the smell of burnt metal and alien blood filled the air. The crew stayed behind the captain, shocked. Their hearts pounded. Suddenly, the ship shook again, worse than before. Panels fell from the ceiling. Sparks flew. A message crackled through the intercom. Multiple enemy signatures boarding. They're heading to your location. Captain Torvak raised his weapon. Reed, I order you. But he stopped when he saw the human's face. Reed wasn't afraid. He wasn't worried. He wasn't even breathing fast. He was ready. He looked down at the fallen raiders and then toward the dark corridor where more footsteps echoed. They're not here for the ship, Reed said calmly. They're here for me. The crew froze. Why would raiders come for one human? Torvak opened his mouth to ask, but before he could, the next wave of raiders stepped into the corridor. Bigger, stronger, armored. Reed stepped forward again. Torvak shouted the same line, louder than ever. Human, stay behind me. But it was already too late. Reed charged. He met the first raider head-on, slamming into it with impossible force. The alien stumbled backward in shock. Reed struck again, this time punching through the creature's armor. Laser fire filled the air. The corridor was chaos. Crew members ducked behind cover. Sparks burned the floor. Raiders roared in anger and confusion, because one human was tearing through them like a storm. One alien screamed something in its language. The translation screen flickered. Kill the human. The human is a threat. Captain Torvak heard it and felt his heart drop. The raiders weren't scared of the aliens. They weren't scared of the captain. They weren't scared of the ship. They were scared of Reed. Reed threw one raider into another, smashing them against the bulkhead. His armor lights glowed brighter, reflecting off the metal walls. Every movement was clean, fast, and brutal. Crew members watched with open mouths. Reed wasn't fighting like they had seen other species fight. He was fighting like something born from chaos, born for survival, born for battle. The last raider of the wave fell to the floor, defeated, armor cracked, body limp. Reed stood in the center of the corridor, surrounded by silence. Blood dripped from alien bodies. Smoke floated around his silhouette. His breathing was steady. Torvak didn't know whether to feel safe or terrified. He whispered, almost to himself. This human, he was already winning the fight. Reed turned his head, slightly. We're not done yet. And then the floor shook as something heavier, something far worse, landed on the ship. End of part 1. The floor vibrated again, this time deeper, heavier, like something massive had attached itself to the hull. The crew looked at each other with fear. Captain Torvak lifted his rifle, but even he felt unsure. Reed stood perfectly still, listening. The lights flickered. A long, metallic screech echoed across the corridor, as if claws were dragging across the outside walls of the ship. What is that? A young crew member whispered. Reed did not answer. His eyes narrowed. Then the sound came again, much closer. Boom! A heavy impact hit the deck above them. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The ship's alarm screamed even louder. Captain Torvak tried to steady his voice. All units, report. What boarded us? The radio responded with static, then a terrified voice. Captain, something huge just broke into Deck 4. It's not a normal raider. HHH. The scream cut off. Silence. Torvak's hands tightened on his rifle. We need to regroup. Reed, fall back. Reed began walking toward the sound instead. Human. Torvak shouted, losing patience. I am giving you an order. Fall back. Reed did not stop. He spoke softly, as if explaining something simple. If that thing reaches the crew quarters, everyone will die. Torvak froze. He knew Reed was right, but he still didn't understand why the raiders were targeting a human so aggressively. Reed, he said, voice calmer. Why are they coming for you? Why only you? Reed looked over his shoulder, expression unreadable. Because they know exactly what a human can do. Before Torvak could ask more, a massive crash shook the hallway. The metal door at the end buckled outward, bent like thin foil. The crew stepped back. Some gasped. One whispered, No, no, no. Another impact. Boom. Dust fell again. Reed moved forward, placing himself between the crew and the damaged door. The metal finally tore open. A huge alien creature stepped through the broken frame, taller than any raider they had seen. Its skin was dark, armored. Its red eyes glowed brighter than fire. Razor-sharp claws extended from its hands. Breathing loud, heavy, hungry, Captain Torvak whispered the name with fear. A Draker, an elite raider. The creature stared straight at the human, and then it spoke in a guttural voice that echoed through the hall. "Human, you come with us. Alive." The crew stared at Reed, horrified. "Why alive? Why him?" Reed didn't move. "I'm not going anywhere with you." The Draker stepped forward, its massive weight shaking the floor. "You are dangerous. Too dangerous. My commander wants you. A human trained for war is a threat to our empire." Torvak's head whipped toward Reed. "A human trained for war? Reed, what did you hide from us?" Reed did not answer. Not yet. The Draker suddenly dashed forward with shocking speed. Crew members screamed and dove for cover. Torvak fired his rifle, but the creature's thick armor deflected the shots. The Draker swung its huge claw toward Reed. Reed blocked with both arms. The impact threw sparks into the air. The human slid backward across the floor, but kept his stance. His boots dug into the metal. His armored suit glowed brighter as it absorbed the force. Reed looked up at the monster towering over him. "You want me alive?" he said quietly. "Come take me." He launched forward with a punch aimed at the creature's chest. It hit like thunder. The Draker staggered, but did not fall. Instead it smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "You are strong for a human." Reed said nothing. He struck again. And again. Fast. Hard. Pure force. The corridor filled with the sounds of metal cracking and claws scraping. But the Draker grabbed Reed by the throat and slammed him into the wall. The metal dented under the impact. The crew shouted in fear. "Reed! Captain, do something. He's going to kill him." Reed's feet lifted off the ground. The alien squeezed tighter. Captain Torvak fired again, but the creature ignored the shots completely. The Draker leaned close to Reed. "You fight like a predator, but you are still flesh. You can still break." Reed's voice came out low and strained. "Then break me." The Draker roared and threw Reed across the corridor. He hit the floor and rolled, skidding to a stop near his fallen enemies. The crew gasped. They thought he might be unconscious. He wasn't. Reed pushed himself up slowly. Pain flickered across his face, but only for a second. He stood straight, breathing deeply. Captain Torvak whispered, stunned, "How is he still standing?" Reed wiped blood from the corner of his mouth. "When humans are pushed," he said softly, "we push back harder." The Draker charged again. This time, Reed didn't wait for the attack. He sprinted forward, meeting the monster in the middle. The collision made the entire ship tremble. Reed ducked under a claw swipe, punched the creature's ribs, then jumped back from a counterattack. His movements were sharp, controlled, fast, too fast for a normal human. The Draker grew angrier. "You are not normal, not natural," Reed finally replied. "No human who survives my world is normal." Torvak and the crew watched in awe. Each moment revealed more about the human they thought needed protection. Reed dodged another attack and landed a powerful kick that sent the Draker skidding backward. For the first time, the monster looked surprised. "Impossible! You should not be able to do this." Reed stepped forward slowly, eyes cold. "You raiders forget something important." The Draker growled. "What is that?" Reed answered with a calmness that chilled the entire crew. "Humans don't give up." The Draker roared and lunged. Reed grabbed the creature's arm, twisted, and slammed it into the floor. The impact shook the whole hallway. The monster tried to rise. Reed punched it in the face. Once, twice, a third time. Its armor cracked. Blood spilled. The giant raider staggered to one knee. The crew watched in stunned silence as the unstoppable alien was forced down by a single human. Reed stepped back, breathing hard but steady. The Draker looked up at him, eyes filled with something the crew had never imagined seeing in such a powerful creature. Fear. Reed spoke quietly. Tell your commander, the human isn't coming. The Draker hissed. This is not over. Reed replied, No, it's just beginning. And then alarms blared again, louder than before. A new signal flashed on every screen. Warning! Multiple raider ships approaching. Elite unit inbound. Captain Torvak stared at the display, voice shaking. They're sending more and they're all coming for him. Reed looked toward the docking bay. His eyes narrowed. Let them come. Reed stood in the middle of the corridor, armor lights glowing softly through the smoke. The crew stared at him with wide eyes. No one spoke. No one even breathed loudly. They all had the same thought. This human was not normal. This human was something else. The emergency alarms continued screaming. Red lights flashed across every wall. The ship's AI repeated the same warning. Multiple raider ships approaching. Elite unit inbound. Captain Torvak looked at the screen again, unable to believe the numbers. 6, no, 7 ships, he whispered. All of them are heavy raider carriers. They are not here for the ship. They are here for you, Reed. Reed didn't look surprised. I told you, they want humans trained for war. Torvak turned sharply. But why? What do they want with you? Reed didn't answer immediately. Instead, he watched the red blinking lights on the door, listening to the alarms, feeling the vibration of engines powering up outside. His face remained calm. Finally, he spoke. Because they know humans adapt. Humans learn. Humans fight harder when pushed. Our species scares them. Some crew members stepped back, as if hearing something dangerous. Before Torvak could ask more, the ship shook violently as the raider carriers locked their claws into the hull, preparing to board. The crew's fear grew. One officer shouted, Captain, we must evacuate this corridor. Another said, We cannot fight them. Not this many. Torvak raised his voice. Everyone fall back to the central chamber. Now! The crew obeyed immediately and ran down the corridor. Everyone except Reed. He did not move. Torvak grabbed his arm with force. Human, do not be a fool. Move. Reed didn't step forward, but he didn't resist. They won't stop coming. Even if I hide. Even if I run. Torvak stared at him. You still want to face them alone? I don't want to. Reed looked toward the docking bay, eyes hardening. But I will. They both felt the next vibration, a huge, deep metallic impact. Something massive attaching to the ship. Torvak released his arm. Reed! They are coming with an entire elite unit. These are no common raiders. These are trained hunters. You cannot take them alone. Reed glanced back at the crew, huddled behind Torvak, terrified. Then I won't let them get to you. The docking bay door explodes. A deafening boom shook the entire ship. The docking bay door burst inward as if torn by a giant. Sparks flew. Smoke sprayed across the floor. Silhouettes appeared through the smoke. Tall, armored, armed. These were not the wild raiders from before. These were elite hunters, the most dangerous soldiers of the Raider Empire. Their armor glowed with red energy lines. Their weapons hummed with deadly power. One of them stepped forward, larger than the others, carrying a thick-bladed spear. His voice echoed through a built-in translator. Target identified. Human. Primary objective. Capture alive. Reed stepped forward, calm as ever. I'm right here. The elite unit spread out, surrounding him. Each step made the floor vibrate. Torvak whispered to his crew, prepare defense positions. But do not shoot unless necessary. We cannot risk hitting Reed. The elite leader pointed his spear at the human. Human, drop your weapons. Surrender. Reed didn't even have a weapon. I'm not surrendering. The elite leader tilted his head. Your resistance is expected. All humans resist. All humans fight until broken. Reed tightened his fists. You raiders still don't understand humans. That's your mistake. The leader raised his hand, point 4. Elite hunters leaped forward at the same time. Their movements were sharp, fast, and perfectly timed. But Reed had already moved. He stepped under one strike, grabbed the attacker's arm, twisted, and flipped the alien over his shoulder. The creature slammed into the floor with a crack. The second elite swung a glowing blade. Reed dodged by inches, then slammed his elbow into the creature's chest. The third aimed a spear at Reed's head. Reed ducked and kicked its legs, knocking it down. The fourth hunter grabbed Reed from behind, pinning his arms. Another raised a blade to his throat. The crew cried out in terror. But Reed suddenly leaned forward, used the alien's grip as leverage, and threw him over his shoulder, breaking the hold. He grabbed the blade wielder by the wrist and twisted it out of their hand. Torvak stared in disbelief. He is fighting elite raiders with bare hands. One officer whispered, trembling, "This is impossible." Reed didn't stop. He attacked again, faster than the crew's eyes could follow. His suit lights glowed brighter as his body pushed past its limits. But the elite hunters were trained, strong, coordinated. More of them charged. One tackled Reed. Another struck him with an energy blade, cutting into his armor. Reed grunted but stayed standing. A third hunter grabbed his arm. A fourth pinned his leg. For the first time, Reed struggled. Torvak lifted his rifle. "We must help him." Reed shouted, "No, stay back." "But, stay back." The crew froze. The elite leader stepped forward with satisfaction. "You fight well, human, better than others. But strength is nothing against numbers." Reed forced one foot forward, dragging 4 elite raiders with him. "Strength is not my limit." The elite leader slammed his spear into ground. Red energy pulsed. "Humans break." The leader said coldly, "You will break." Reed closed his eyes for half a second, then opened them again. Something changed. His stance straightened. His breathing slowed. His expression hardened. The entire room felt colder. Reed pushed upward, throwing off the raiders holding him as if they weighed nothing. They flew backward into walls and crates. The crew gasped. Reed attacked again, faster than before. He punched, dodged, kicked, and slammed elites into the walls. Armor cracked. Weapons clattered on the floor. The elite leader watched with growing anger. "This is why humans must be captured," he growled. "You evolve in the middle of battle." Reed wiped blood from his lip. "That's right." The leader stepped forward. "And now you face me." Reed's eyes locked onto him. The crew held their breath. The elite leader charged. And Reed charged at the same time. Their clash shook the entire docking bay. Armored plates cracked. Sparks flew like lightning. The crew shielded their faces from force. Reed stumbled back from the impact, but kept his footing. The elite leader looked shocked. No human should withstand that. Reed answered, "I'm not done yet." The leader's eyes narrowed, then fall. He swept his spear with deadly precision. Reed barely blocked it. Their weapons clashed again and again, except Reed had no weapon. He fought with only his hands and speed. Torvak watched in horror. If Reed falls, we all fall. The elite leader's attacks grew faster, stronger, more deadly. Reed dodged one strike, but the next hit him across the chest, sending him sliding across the floor. The crew shouted in panic. Reed tried to stand. The elite leader placed his boot on Reed's chest, pinning him down. "You are strong," he said, "but you are alone." Reed glared up at him. "No, I'm not." The leader tilted his head. "What do you mean?" Reed looked past him, toward the crew, toward Captain Torvak. And Torvak suddenly understood. Reed wasn't asking for protection. He was asking for support. The captain raised his rifle. "Crew, for the human, fire." The corridor exploded with gunfire and energy blasts. Captain Arya stood frozen for a moment, staring at the metal wall where the rogue energy blade had been buried just seconds ago. Her heart was still racing. The whole corridor smelled like burnt circuits and hot metal. The emergency lights flashed red again, warning them that more enemies were closing in. Jay slowly lowered his arm after blocking the killing strike that was meant for Arya. He didn't look angry. He didn't look scared. He looked focused, almost calm, as if stopping a deadly attack was nothing more than pushing a door open. Captain, Jay said quietly, they won't stop coming. Arya nodded. I know, but this isn't normal. They aren't moving like soldiers. They're moving like hunters. She turned to the others. Their faces were pale, tired, some shaking from fear. These were trained officers, but even they had never seen aliens move with such speed and purpose. Jay studied the dead alien on the floor. It had the same armor and body shape as the others, but something was different. Its skin was darker, and there were glowing lines across its chest. He touched those lines. They pulsed faintly. Captain, he said, this one is enhanced. Arya's eyes widened. Enhanced how? Stronger, faster, smarter. Something upgraded them. Before Arya could respond, the floor vibrated. A deep, heavy vibration. The type that meant something extremely big was moving somewhere inside the ship. Lieutenant Wren whispered, "Oh no, not another wave." But the vibration wasn't footsteps. It felt like an engine, a different kind of engine. Arya grabbed the nearest handrail as the walls trembled again. Everyone hold on. A few officers fell to their knees. What now? What is happening? Someone yelled. Jace closed his eyes and listened. Something just docked with us. Arya's breath caught. Docked? Who? More of them. Suddenly the corridor lights flickered again. This time not red, but white and blue, as if another power source was invading the system. Wren checked his wrist display. Captain, there's another ship attached to our hull. But it's not the enemy. It's something else. Arya leaned forward. Define something else. Wren swallowed. The computer, it can't identify the ship at all. A long silence spread across the corridor. Then Jay spoke in a calm but serious tone. They're not here to help. Arya stared at him. How do you know? Because whatever docked with us, it's masking itself. It's hiding its energy signature. Only predators do that. Before Arya could argue, the ship's main light shut off completely, plunging them into near darkness. The only glow came from the blue stripes across Jace's armor and the faint red emergency lights on the floor. A soft humming noise filled the air. Not mechanical. Not alien. It sounded human, but at the same time not human at all. Everyone froze. A voice echoed to the ship's internal speakers, distorted and filtered as if coming from underwater. Captain Arya Solon, the voice said slowly, your ship is compromised. Surrender the human unit. Arya's eyes widened. She looked at Jace. Human unit? They mean you. Jace didn't move. He simply stared at the nearest speaker. The voice continued, deliver the human, or we will take him. The corridor erupted with whispers. They came for him. They know him. What is he? Arya stepped forward and shouted into the air, identify yourself. The voice paused. Then, we are the architects. Everyone fell silent. That name wasn't common. It wasn't even supposed to exist. It was a myth whispered among soldiers. Stories about a hidden species that shaped wars from shadows. A species that never appeared, never revealed itself, but always controlled the battlefield through manipulation. Arya felt her throat tighten. Why do you want Jace? For the first time, the voice sounded almost amused. He is ours. Jace frowned. I belong to no one. The voice responded instantly. You were created by us. You only think you are free. Arya stepped between the speaker and Jace. He's part of my crew. You can't have him. The voice's tone dropped lower, colder. You misunderstand, Captain. The human is not a member of your crew. He is the weapon we designed, and he has gone out of control. Jace clenched his fists. I'm not a weapon. Not for you. Not for anyone. The humming sound grew louder, vibrating in their bones. Something was moving inside the walls, small, sharp, metallic. Arya grabbed her team. Stay together. We need to fall back. But Jace didn't move. He kept staring straight ahead, as if remembering something, as if a memory was unlocking. Captain, he whispered, I know who they are. Arya turned sharply. Jace, what do you mean? He didn't look at her. His eyes were distant, cold. They made me. before the program was shut down, before humans even knew they existed. Arya froze. Jace, what program? He finally turned to her, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes. Fear. They called it Project Keyframe. Humans weren't supposed to survive the process. But I did. The ship's walls shook as something sharp cut through the metal behind them. Arya shouted, "Move! Now!" But Jace raised a hand gently. "Captain, you should run." Arya grabbed his arm. "I'm not leaving you." Jace looked at her with a calm sadness. "They didn't come for your ship. They didn't come for your crew. They came because the thing they created is no longer under their control." The metal wall ruptured like paper. A sphere-shaped drone emerged, glowing with blue symbols. It scanned the corridor and locked onto Jace. The voice returned. "Human unit detected. Begin retrieval." Arya drew her weapon. "Over my dead body." Jace stepped forward before she could fire. His voice was low, steady. "Captain, this is why they're afraid. Because humans don't break as easily as they expected." He cracked his knuckles. The drone charged its energy. Jace exhaled. And then, the deck beneath him exploded. Black smoke flooded the corridor. Officers screamed. The blue drone fired a blinding beam. Jace leapt through the smoke toward it. Arya tried to see him, but the smoke swallowed everything, until she heard one sound. A metallic scream. Then silence. The smoke slowly cleared, and something was standing there. Or someone. But it didn't look like Jace anymore. Not fully. Arya whispered, trembling, "Jace!" He turned his head slowly toward her, his eyes glowing brighter than before. The smoke drifted slowly across the ruined corridor, glowing faint blue from the broken drone pieces. Alarms rang in the distance, echoing through the damaged ship. Fires crackled behind the walls. Sparks fell from the ceiling like tiny falling stars. Captain Arya stared forward, frozen in place. Jace stood in the middle of the destruction, but he did not look the same. His eyes glowed bright, almost like two burning blue suns. Energy flowed under his skin, thin lines of light running across his arms, neck, and face. They pulsed with the same patterns the architects used. His armor looked stretched, as if something under it had grown stronger. He turned his head slowly toward Arya. "Captain," he said quietly, "don't be afraid." But his voice sounded different. Not deeper, not louder, just more controlled. Too controlled. Like a machine that learned how to sound human. Arya forced herself to breathe. "Jace, what happened to you?" Jace looked down at his hands. They were still glowing faintly. "The architects activated something inside me," he said. "A protocol. I didn't know it was there." Lieutenant Wren and the remaining soldiers stood at a distance, unsure if they should run or stay. No one pointed a weapon at Jace, but they also didn't get close to him. Arya stepped forward carefully. "Are you still you?" Jace looked up slowly, and for a moment she saw the same calm, steady eyes she knew. Then the glow returned, flickering. "I'm trying to be," he said, "but they're pushing into my mind. Try to take control." Arya felt a cold chill. "Can you fight it?" "I don't know." Suddenly, the ship lights flickered again. Then the voice of the architects filled the air. "Human unit is active. Secondary protocol engaged. Begin full override." Jace grabbed his head in pain. The glowing lines on his skin pulsed faster. Arya rushed to him. "Jace, stay with us. Don't let them in." But Jace dropped to one knee. The floor shook beneath him. "Captain," he said through clenched teeth, "the override is trying to rewrite me." The voice echoed again, calm and emotionless. "You were built to follow. You were built to obey. Return to your purpose." Jace slammed his fist into the metal floor, leaving a dent 2 inches deep. "I am not yours." The voice replied instantly. "You are malfunctioning. You require reset." Arya turned to her team. "We need to break their signal. Rin, get to the communication hub." Rin nodded and ran down the corridor. Arya grabbed Jace's shoulders. "Listen to me. You are not a machine. You saved us. You protect us because you choose to." Jace's breathing slowed. For a moment, the lines on his skin dimmed. But then, A loud metallic clang echoed behind them. A door exploded open, and 4 architect drones floated out, sleek, spherical, and glowing with bright white light, much more advanced than the earlier one. They moved like silent ghosts. Arya raised her blaster. Everyone take cover. The drone scanned the room with harsh beams. Human unit detected. Prepare extraction. Jay stood up slowly. The glow in his eyes brightened again. "Captain," he said, "get your crew out of here." Arya shook her head. "Not without you." Jace looked at her with a strange mix of fear and determination. "This part, I have to handle alone." But Arya refused to back away. "You are not a weapon. You fight with us, not for them." Jace looked at the drones. They were charging their weapons. He whispered, "I'm sorry." Then he moved. He moved so fast the air cracked. One moment he was beside Arya. The next moment he was in the air, striking the first drone with a punch that shattered it into pieces of burning metal. The other drones reacted instantly, firing white-hot beams that tore through the corridor. Jace dodged every shot, moving like a shadow. He jumped, flipped, and crashed into the second drone, breaking it in half. Arya watched in shock. He wasn't human anymore. Or maybe he was something more. The third drone fired a massive blast at Jace. He caught the beam with his glowing hand, absorbing it like energy being pulled into his body. Then he threw that same energy back at the drone, destroying it in a burst of light. Only one drone remained, but this one didn't attack. It simply spoke. "Primary target is unstable. Activate failsafe." Jace froze. Arya felt her stomach drop. "Jace, what do they mean?" The drone glowed brightly. Something inside it began to spin. Jace whispered, "Run now." Arya grabbed her team. "Move. Move." The drone released a low humming sound, deep and dangerous. Then it fired a thin beam directly at Jace. Not to kill him, to change him. Jace screamed, falling to his knees again as the glowing lines on his skin twisted and expanded. His eyes flickered wildly. Arya shouted, "Jace, fight it." Jace's voice came out broken. "Captain, something is unlocking." The drone spoke. "Protocol 0. Full awakening." Arya fired at the drone until it exploded, but the damage was already done. Jace collapsed to the floor, shaking. Arya ran to him. "Jace, stay awake. Talk to me." His voice was faint. "They opened the last part, the part one was afraid of." Arya held him tightly. "You are stronger than them. Don't let them win." But suddenly the ship shook violently. A new docking sound echoed. This one louder, heavier, like a giant machine connecting to the hull. Rin's voice came through Arya's earpiece. "Captain, a massive architect vessel just latched onto us. It's bigger than our whole ship." Arya looked up in horror. Jace's eyes glowed fully now. Bright, powerful, almost blinding. He whispered, "They're not here to take me anymore." Arya's heart stopped. "Then what do they want?" Jace slowly lifted his head. "To destroy everything I touched." The corridor lights all turned blue. The voice of the architects spoke one last time. "Begin total purge." Arya swallowed hard. This was no longer about enemies or battles. This was about survival. The ship trembled so violently that the lights flickered, the walls cracked, and every loose tool and weapon rattled on the floor. Captain Arya grabbed a railing to keep from falling. The entire vessel felt like it was being crushed by an invisible fist. Outside, something massive had attached itself to their hull, through the small window in the corridor. Arya could see the shadow of the architect vessel. It wasn't a ship, it was a fortress. A floating titan with glowing rings of blue energy and long metallic arms that wrapped around Arya's ship like claws. It wasn't coming to capture. It was coming to erase. Arya turned toward Jace. He lay on the floor, barely conscious, glowing lines still crawling across his skin like living electricity. His breathing was heavy, uneven. "Jace," Arya whispered, kneeling beside him. "You have to wake up. We need you." He slowly opened his eyes. The light inside them flickered like a fire struggling to stay alive. "I hear them," he said softly. "Hear who?" Jace pointed upward weakly. The architects. They're inside my mind. They're calling me. Arya's stomach tightened. Fight them, she said firmly. You're not theirs. Jace shook his head slowly. You don't understand. They didn't just activate something. They released something. A part of me I never knew existed. Arya leaned closer. What part? The part that wasn't human. Before Arya could respond, the architect's voice echoed through every speaker on the ship. Purge cycle initiated. Neutralize all biological contamination. Sirens began to scream. Blue fire-like energy crawled through the ventilation system. Doors sealed automatically. The temperature dropped so fast that the air turned to mist. Lieutenant Rin sprinted into the corridor. Captain, entire sections are freezing over. They're trying to kill everyone at once. Arya stood. We need to reach engineering. We can break their lock and escape. Rin nodded, but he stared fearfully at Jace. What about him? Arya looked down at Jace, who was still glowing. We take him with us. Rin swallowed hard. Captain, look at him. He's changing. Arya didn't hesitate. He's still part of this crew. As long as he fights for us, we fight for him. Jace tried to stand, but his legs shook. Arya grabbed his arm and helped him up. Even weakened, he felt heavier, stronger, like something powerful was thrumming inside him. As they moved down the corridor, mist floated off Jace's skin as if his body was generating heat on its own. They reached the blast door, frozen solid. Rin pulled out a thermal cutter. This will take minutes. Jace raised his glowing hand. I can do it. He touched the frozen metal. The ice cracked instantly. Steam burst outward. Then the entire blast door melted like wax. Rin stepped back. Captain, did you see that? He shouldn't be able to do that. Jace didn't look proud. He looked scared. They entered the next hallway, only for the architects to block it. A swarm of floating drones dropped from the ceiling, dozens of them, all humming with deadly energy. Arya raised her gun. Find cover. But Jace stepped forward. No. His eyes glowed brighter. They're not stopping because of you. They're stopping because of me. This purge is meant for the thing inside me. Arya shook her head fiercely. Whatever they put in you, whatever they made you into, you still choose. You saved us. You fought for us. Jace looked at her with real emotion this time. And I'll keep fighting. He took a deep breath. Then he moved. The drones fired beams of white energy, but Jace was already gone. He blurred through the hallway, smashing drones to pieces with impossible strength. Beams hit him, but instead of burning, the energy sank into his skin and fed the blue glowing lines. The more they shot him, the stronger he became. Arya watched with awe and fear. Jace, you're absorbing them. Jace didn't answer. He destroyed the last drone with a final punch that cracked the floor. Then he suddenly collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Arya rushed to him. What's happening? Jace pressed his hand against his chest, glowing veins pulsing violently. They're pushing harder, trying to take full control. The more power I use, the more they can reach me. Arya grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. You stay here. With us. Not with them. He shut his eyes and nodded weakly. I'll try. Rin tapped the panel. Engineering is 2 levels below, but the architects are ripping the ship apart from the outside. We don't have long. A violent tremor shook the hallway. Metal screamed. A ceiling beam crashed down behind them. Arya yelled, Move! They sprinted forward, dragging Jace with them when he stumbled. The hallway twisted downward as the architect's massive vessel tightened its grip around the ship. Captain, Rin shouted. They're crushing the hull, if it keeps going. The floor tilted. Everyone fell. The lights went out completely. Then, a new light appeared. A blinding white beam from above, cutting through the ceiling, opening a circular hole, and lowering something. A tall, humanoid figure descended into the corridor. Its body was made of smooth blue metal. Its face was a blank mask with glowing white eyes. It walked with absolute precision. Arya raised her weapon slowly. What is that? Jace stared at the figure with deep fear. They sent a guardian. Arya swallowed. What's a guardian? Jace whispered, voice shaking. The one thing I was created to replace and never could. The guardian spoke with the architect's voice. Human prototype detected. Prepare for termination. Jace stepped away from Arya. Captain, you have a run. Arya grabbed his hand. No, we stay together. The guardian's arm morphed into a blade of blue light. Begin elimination. Jace's glow intensified. His eyes burned brighter than ever. He whispered one last time, Arya, remember me if I don't make it. Then he charged the guardian. An entire ship shook as human and architect weapon collided.